Keep your hands and head inside the vehicle at all times. Buckle your seatbelts, check your mirrors, sit on back and relax. It's lights out and away we go for the Tall and Short of It podcast. All right, so radio silence from the peanut gallery, hopefully. And here we are for the 2023 Jeddah. It's the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix at the Jeddah Corniche Circuit. I always get that stuff mixed up, the name of the Grand Prix versus the name of the track. But here we are on a Sunday live for the race. Good to see you, Aaron. How are you doing?
Good to see you too. I'm doing well. I'm excited to see how this race works out. We had a pretty fun and interesting qualifying yesterday. We had early on some Williams cars showing some really good pace, but Logan Sargent just unfortunately wasn't able to hook up a full quali lap. So he's starting down in P20, but I think he could pick up some places during the race. We saw Alonso, Stroll both starting up highly. Alonso ending up on the first row of the grid with Leclerc taking his penalty. And of course, the story of the day is Max Verstappen starting in P15 after some engine issues. I think it was a drive shaft problem. So he's gone from 14th to win. Don't know if he can go from 15th. It's going to be an interesting race, but I'm excited to see El Plan dive bomb Sergio right at the first corner and just send it right down the inside.
Yeah, to that point, I think you're right. Fernando Alonso is going to be a pretty tough cookie to crack here for Sergio. I'm curious, based on the pace of the field, though, if Max doesn't just have basically just like an escalator walkway to whatever it is, like P5, P6, and then the real racing starts. What do you think about this?
I think that makes sense because a lot of the drivers further back in the grid, they're not going to fight Max that hard because they know that that's not who their battle is with today. So why risk crashing out, fighting with someone who you know has a stronger car than you? So yeah, I would expect him probably within 2 or 3 laps to be up at least into the top 10, into the points. So we've got the last cars lining up here on the grid. Lando Norris, who had a rough day in P19, Logan Sargent in P20 pulling up, and lights are going on.
Damn, lights out. Here we go for the start. We see some smoke building up at the back, some overheating tires. Fernando Alonso gets P1, start of the race, goes out to Sergio. Ferrari's moving up. Lance Stroll looks like gains a position here at the start of the race. Sergio's sticking tight, and that's a Mercedes getting up into positions as well.
Yeah, George Russell up to P3 off the start.
Williams going off the track, relatively clean start here. Like for the first couple of turns, first sector here, nobody going too far off. Lots of cars gaining position here in these tight first sectors.
Yeah, and Piastri looks like the only person who's come out worse for wear there. He has, Stroll sending it around the outside of Leclerc there, or of Sainz there, to put it up into P4 for Lance Stroll. Really, really nice move there. Apparently, Alonso may have been in the incorrect starting position that we just saw, so stewards are reviewing that. We may see a 5-second penalty similar to what Ocon had gotten. Piastri, though, with some damage. His front wing is flapping a little bit on the front right side. Lost the end plate with whatever contact that I don't think we got to see at the moment. But right now, Checo just sweeping in right behind Alonso. I called it. Alonso taking the inside.
Yeah, and he got that done almost as quickly, just immediately off the line. Sergio's still fighting, staying pretty close to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's gonna be a tough position to gain back. Yeah, Piastri dropping down from that contact that he took. I wonder if we're gonna see a replay of that.
Yeah, he's getting a new front wing.
Getting a new front wing, gonna be
Probably
out here. He's gonna
tires on.
Yep, he's gonna have a lot of work to do here. That's gonna be tough. Oh, it looks like staying. Is that red wall or did they swap tires?
No, it's all whites. Those are hard tires.
Okay. sometimes it's tough to see here with these camera angles. But
Well, and with the wheel covers too, I feel like there's so many extra colors that distract you from, like, Checo's on the yellow tires, but Red Bull has that red ring around the inside of the rim that always makes it look like they have the soft tires on.
There you go. Yeah, thank you. We get the 5-second penalty confirmation for Fernando Alonso. I want to see. I want to see what the incorrect starting position looks like in this scenario.
I really don't know, because that bothered me. I couldn't see anything wrong with Ocon's starting position last race either.
Well, when they show you the like camera angle low to the ground, all the cars are like lined up like behind these neat little lines, and Ocon is clearly like out and over that line.
Gotcha.
So it was like not a longitudinal out, but he was like laterally out of his box.
Okay.
But yeah, just moving forward, we'll see how that affects Fernando going into the race. He's going to have to get a decent amount of time in hand if he wants to, keep the lead and then also, negate that 5-second penalty. But with the pace that Sergio Perez has currently, only like less than a second down, that may be tough to gain here in the opening stages. But we do have DRS enabled.
Yeah, which I think may have just come in the nick of time for Sergio Perez. If he can hang inside that, he is just about a second back from Alonso. If he can get that DRS, he might be able to get past and start to put a little space, but he's struggling a little bit from behind at the moment.
Yeah, I think Fernando was just on the radio. Are they talking about doing a stop and go penalty here?
Yeah, so it's a 5-second stop and go. They told him, and he actually didn't seem like stressed or upset or outraged. Just kind of like, okay, like good to go. So good reaction from him at the start. Got him a really good jump on Sergio Perez. And George Russell also a nice nifty move there to get up past the Ferrari along with Lance Stroll, like we saw later on. Ocon riding in 6th. That's that and Gasly in 8th. I think we had kind of had our suspicions that the Alpine, based on last year's car, might do well on one of these longer circuits. But there we go, and see Checo get the move on Alonso, little lockup, but is able to make it past. So
damn, yeah. I would like to get a replay of that. See how he got that done.
Yeah, I think it was DRS. So he must have hung just inside that space, but Alonso is still hanging with him, and with these 3 DRS zones, he may be able to keep it pretty tight. Oh yeah, Alonso's to the left of his. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, and that was the same thing that Ocon was. So not
straight
front
on.
to back.
Yeah, side to side there.
Holy shit!
But yeah, he got a great jump there, and so did George Russell on that outside. Really, really impressive stuff there.
And was that the contact there on the McLaren?
I couldn't quite tell in the back. I think that's where it happened.
Okay.
But yeah, I think we're getting a view from Oscar Piastri here. So getting a good start. Trying not to get pinched and just...
Oof.
Yeah. So
okay.
just brushes up, wrong part of the car to touch the wheel of the Alpine of Pierre Gasly. So bumping a little back tires and hitting the front wing there on the McLaren car to break that end plate off.
Yeah, and that smoke that we were seeing, it looks like it's Lance Stroll's Aston Martin up there that's got the really, really hot brakes.
Yeah, so probably just a little bit with the... Oh, there's that move from Checo. Yeah, really sent it deep. He locked up pretty hard there. So turning a little late, but made the move stick. We also, during that little stretch, saw Verstappen get past both of the Haas cars with the DRS on that last lap. So he is now up 4 positions, P11, looking to catch up with Zhou Guanyu next. But Leclerc also has had a pretty solid start. He's up 3 positions. Hulkenberg down 3. And Piastri, of course, down 11 with that tough start. Lando Norris, though, I guess has pitted as well. I missed that because he's now back from Piastri, so he must have had some sort of issue.
Man, it's been an interesting storyline here for the McLarens to be,
It's rough.
yeah, just really tough to see them 19 and 20 here. I was thinking about Charles Leclerc. Wait, why is he P9? And then I remembered the penalty that he had to take for the part. So he's gonna have to work his way back up. And interestingly, he's on the softs as well to start. So we may see him look to gain a couple spots. He's looks like coming up on the back of Pierre Gasly and then Lewis Hamilton as well. I think that's the little battle that we're seeing.
So, and Hamilton really trying to break that that slipstream down the long straights, moving around quite a bit. Gasly in that Alpine, and like we were saying, last year's Alpine was so strong in the straight line. Obviously, the Mercedes has struggled just all over the place so far. Oh, a nice little nice save there. Pretty scary moment for Max. That could have been into the wall pretty easy without that correction. But yeah, the Alpines so fast in a straight line. Gasly hanging in that DRS of Lewis Hamilton. If he's able to maybe attempt a move, not use all of his energy reserves, then he may have a shot to try and make a move on Hamilton and put a little space. But Leclerc, like you said, especially on those soft tires, trying to climb quickly.
Yeah, I'm curious what the strategy here for Leclerc would be then, because he does all this work. Let's say he's able to get past like Gasly, Hamilton, and get close to Ocon in this stint. When does he choose to pit? Because he just I feel like he gives up that advantage pretty quickly. So to be fair, I'm curious to see if the soft. I'm guessing he's going to go like soft, medium, soft, or soft, medium.
Oh, and Leclerc gets past Gasly there.
There you go. Yeah. So I'm curious to see what he's going to do and just give up.
I think the key advantage is to try and climb as many places as you can on the soft tires with the early pace, and then just try and stretch that stint to get close to when the medium tire pit window is happening.
Gotcha.
So move up and then try and just lengthen that soft stint so that you can get there, and then be on a relatively similar strategy from that point on with everyone else. I would imagine we'll probably see maybe a soft medium from the Ferraris where for like the Red Bulls, for instance, we probably will see the medium tire and then maybe a soft stint and another medium, or two soft stints at the end, with how they've done in terms of holding onto their tires and all. Another interesting one, though, Logan Sargent down there, P17, up 3 places from his start, only a second off of Alex Albon, his teammate, who's on the medium tire while Sargent's on that hard tire. So a solid start there for him. Logan Sargent, like I was saying, had some good pace yesterday, but couldn't hook up a lap to get there. And there goes Max Verstappen getting past Zhou Guanyu.
Well, and does that pace delta kind of indicate maybe the hard tires are going to be a decent race tire?
Potentially. I mean, I think that the hard tires, I expect the hard tires to do decently, but I just don't know if the longevity of them is worth the loss of pace that you would get from Hamilton weaving on the straight. Like I said, he was moving a lot, trying to break the slipstream. I I don't think he was moving in the braking zone, but it was a lot of back and forth as he was going down.
Well, that's good that yeah, it's good that you're getting called on that. Don't want like you were saying to get squirrely in the braking zone. And with a long race to go here.
Yeah, and he wasn't moving in the braking zone, so that doesn't concern me on that aspect. But yeah, like just the weaving down the straight, you can't do that either. You can try and break the slipstream, but you can't go too wild and crazy. Not like we see. I feel like a lot of times in IndyCar, you see a lot of trying to warm up tires. And there goes Leclerc past Hamilton, moving up into P7. So quickly making up that gap. He's now about 6.5 seconds back from Carlos Sainz's teammate, who is right on the heels of Lance Stroll at the moment.
Yeah, doing work on the soft tire start plan, getting a whole bunch of overtakes done. Obviously, that's what you're on him for. But yeah, kudos to Leclerc for getting it done. What's he now? What's that, like up 5 positions, I think? 5 or 6 positions?
I think he started, 4. So from P11 to P7. And then Alonso just staying inside the DRS. That's kind of the story of Hamilton saying the hard tire sucks for grip. So maybe we won't see other teams go and use that tire. But Alonso just hanging in there right around that 1 second with Perez. So the Aston Martin team saying that they're going to stick to plan A. Definitely exciting to see him up there still battling for that front of the race. And there goes Verstappen up past Gasly into P9. Lewis Hamilton next. Hopefully just no fireworks until the end of the race.
Well, that would just confirm these dudes are just magnets to each other. True. You know, can't not come together when one's trying to make an overtake. But that's not necessarily true. We've seen there were a bunch of races last year where, you know, Lewis just had the, you know,
it's just once it boiled over, it like just kept boiling. Sure. it wasn't cool enough after it got to that breaking point, because early in the season they had done well to be very like careful of each other, and as the season progressed it got worse. But But yeah.
Well, no, what I was saying was last year, like Lewis wasn't in.
Oh, sorry,
Max's
I'm thinking 2
races.
years ago. Yeah.
Oh yeah, obviously that was that. There were some ridiculous moments in 2020, but last year I don't think Lewis was really ever racing Max, so it wasn't really a problem. But yeah, we see Max here gaining up on Hamilton. It may be maybe a couple laps before he gets within really like contesting that 8th position, but it is coming up quick, that's for sure. Verstappen's just been kind of hammering through the field. I'm curious when the real racing kind of starts for him, probably once he gets up towards Leclerc, but obviously Leclerc's going to be pitting soon. So it seems like a bunch of shakeups yet to happen for the top 10.
Yeah, and Verstappen is in that DRS, so I expect him to move up. Alonso getting told that the hard tire is not looking great. And so I was just going to mention we now have seen Kevin Magnussen and Valtteri Bottas both pit and go on to those hard tires as well. Logan Sargent's been on them since the start and is now closing in on Nick DeVries. But it seems like, most people are not thrilled with that hard tire at the moment. Lewis not happy with the grip, and of course the McLaren's just going onto that because they needed to. So
right to really extend their stint. But yeah, I'm curious for the ones that started on mediums. who were possibly looking at the hards as their secondary, like their secondary tire. That may be throwing a big monkey wrench into their plan, in the sense of, if it's not getting the race pace, they may have to swap to a different strategy. But it seems like the softs are pretty good, so you could pivot to like a medium soft medium strategy, get your two compounds in, and not have to worry about touching the hard tire. And that's what's kind of interesting about these tire strategies, depending on the track and the race, is what teams may have previously thought based on other data gathered on the weekend. They get into the race, they see other drivers, what their paces are, and and then they pivot and activate another plan. It's kind of fascinating seeing them like they're doing that in real time. They're not.
And there goes Max through on Lewis. But yeah, no, I 100% agree, because the interesting part is you can see how there's one practice session that you have at nighttime in similar elements as you do on race day, but the weather could be different, the temperatures could be different, the information and data that you got running those long hard tire stints during the practice session may not correlate to how it is on race day. And so you can come up with the strategy and plan, but being ready to pivot and everything on those strategies is a necessity when you're there's so many variables. You can run into something like this very easily, where the hard tires were probably most teams' plans, and now they're going, I don't know about this. So.
And fair enough that you didn't have like the the quote unquote right idea coming into it, but yeah, it's the team strength in getting that change of decision down the pit wall. But yeah, I was definitely wrong. I thought the overtake may have been a little bit longer. Max got it done, I think, in probably less than a lap when I had said that. So getting the work done quick. We see a little graphic come up, and this is informative for me because I wasn't quite sure. Pit window for the soft tires, it looked like, was 13 to 20. Yeah. So Leclerc getting work done there on Ocon, it looks like. Yep. Getting up into sixth position, and then he's going to look to box pretty quickly, I imagine, and look to swap up his tires.
Yeah, probably, I imagine. So they'll start looking at getting tires ready for Leclerc. Like you were saying, but I would imagine they're going to let him try and put some, or pick up the gap a little bit between him and Sainz, and just right before he would get into that battle and potentially slow them both down, pit Leclerc, keep Sainz out for a little longer, and keep them. But Alonso saying the tires feel good, we can keep going, even though he has now really had a gap put between him and Sergio Perez. I think the that Red Bull in open air just cruising is just a smooth car.
Yeah, pretty dangerous, it seems. Yep, there we go. Carlos Sainz, box, half of the Ferrari team getting some new tires here. Very impressed with
that they're boxing him early instead of having Leclerc pit first on the soft tires. That surprises me that Sainz is boxing first from the mediums.
Right. Well, we'll see. We'll see how it works out for him, Cotton.
Might have been a dummy call because Sainz stayed out. Stroll ended up going and pitting. So maybe they saw they were getting close on. Not a bad stop, 2.9 from the Aston Martin. But yeah, Stroll might have gotten duped there by the fake call from the Ferrari team.
And he went on to the hard tires then as well.
Okay, so that'll be interesting. I'm sure also part of this is utilizing Stroll in a strong position to test those hard tires compared to what they want to do with Alonso. See if those hard tires seem to be decent or not.
I wonder for Alonso if plan A is medium, soft, medium. I doubt they look at the hards for him in that, like, well, I don't know, because he did drop back behind Perez. I'm curious, like, what they think their top position is.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I feel like just based on what the teams have had planned, that the hard tires are just kind of what everyone's defaulting to. But I don't know if that means it's the best tire. We have, so just to run through the standings at the moment, we've got Perez in first, Alonso second, Russell third. Those three haven't changed at all. Sainz fourth, Leclerc fifth, Verstappen sixth, Ocon seven, Hamilton 8, Gasly in the pits going from 9 down, and Yuki Tsunoda and Lance Stroll, Alex Albon sliding up. So a pretty tight battle there, right at the top of the points. Lance Stroll in the points without anyone ahead of him having pitted yet. So he's going to be in a pretty good position, I would say, looking as everyone starts to make their first pit stop in that top half of the grid.
Well, and that's going to make us really have to start looking at Aston Martin as a team that's like, got a car with the pace, got a couple drivers that are performing well in that car, and then B, getting the strategy right. That's going to make for some pretty tough races for the Red Bull and the Ferrari squad. But in a world where Mercedes came out thinking they weren't going to be doing so hot, here's Russell in the third position.
Yeah, well, and Sainz being told to box, but like you were saying with the Mercedes team, I think it's just something that we'll see as the season progresses, that they're just going to struggle with performing at, or they won't be contending for the championship. I think they're probably maximizing what they can do with the car that they have. But like we were saying on the podcast, with them thinking that they got the concept wrong for the car, and starting to change that strategy a bit with their aero and everything, I think they might be just like hitting the ceiling of their car, where everyone else will be able to continue to get faster, improve theirs and all. And so they're saying, okay, this other concept has a higher ceiling than where we're at, so we need to pivot.
Okay, so I see what you're saying. So we may not fully see the consequences of those choices until maybe a couple races down.
Yeah, as the other teams start implementing these upgrades and packages and all for the different circuits that improve upon the concept that they've already built, with better aero, with better parts, and whatnot. The Mercedes squad might just be like, this is the best we can do with this car, so we need to switch to something more similar to everyone else to ensure that we can keep improving at the same rate as everyone, to maintain our position. So more of a longer term look at it. Verstappen up to P4 now with Leclerc and Sainz pitting. I didn't see what Sainz went on to, but it looks like Leclerc is onto the hard tires as well. Ocon coming in. So we're seeing a lot of the top half of the grid here take their first pit stops.
And looking for, I couldn't get a good look at Leclerc's tires. That's what I was pausing for, trying to get a sense of who went on to what. But yeah, it seems like people are still having to opt for the hard tires regardless of what the early data was.
Yeah, and right now they're saying on the broadcast, they're talking about Verstappen, and if he can stretch those medium tires just with the good tire deg that Red Bull has, if he can stretch those tires to around lap 30, from what they're saying, maybe he can just not have to use the hard tires at all.
Right.
And a yellow flag sector 2.
Give me that good dig.
Stroll sliding down, so wonder what happened here with Lance.
No,
Oh,
Lance.
stop the car. Oh,
Just some kind of mechanical failure.
oh, feels bad. That's awful.
Yeah,
He was having a nice race. That sucks.
Yeah. Dude,
It
this
depend-
is. I want to be in their helmet and hear like what he's saying to those stewards.
Yeah.
It's probably just like clerical stuff, just
Wow.
like where do you need me, whatever.
Right. Full safety car, though, so we'll probably see pretty much everyone come in to pit if they can catch it before they come around. Oh, wow. Why are they going to a full safety car? There's no reason to go to a full safety car there. He already got the car out at one of the gaps.
I would just like to say I called that. I said it was Lance's brakes that were smoking, and they're putting a fire extinguisher on that
Yeah.
front right. Damn.
Wow, that's crazy. That was you were right on that,
Dude,
but-
I even said like we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
Holy
but
shit.
also brutal for the Ferraris. Sainz and Leclerc just pitted. We're gonna see everyone here at the top get the fast or the time reduced pit stop and everything. So Russell coming in. I'm sure we'll see pretty much everyone come in, and this is where it's going to get interesting. So Max will be in P4, fresh tires along with everyone else, probably double stacking, and I see the hard tires coming out for Checo. So I assume at this point, if Checo's going onto the hard tires, that we'll see Max also go onto those hard tires.
So virtual safety car reduces the speed. They don't all have to bunch up,
Yeah.
or is it a full safety car?
So it is a full safety car.
Okay,
I think
gotcha. I just
shoulda-
didn't see it.
Yeah, I think it should have been a virtual safety car.
Yeah, because he was like right there.
He was able to get the car like out the thing without
Yeah.
like there's no risk there. Nice quick pit stop from Mercedes to get Russell out. So yeah, we've got Perez, Alonso, and Russell, it looks like, all coming out on the hard tires. Max coming in, Lewis also coming into pit. So the Ferrari pair lost out big time to Verstappen and Hamilton. And yes, that is Max
that's really
coming
rough.
out on the hard tires as well. So yeah, really tough. Sainz was able to get by before Hamilton came through, but Leclerc loses out to Hamilton, who will now be on fresher tires, just by a couple of laps, but nonetheless. Man. This is getting interesting.
Yeah, at least here for the little middle stint of the race here. Yeah, that is gonna make things interesting, and just a lap behind. But how could the Ferraris have known that?
Yeah. No, of course. I mean, Stroll, let's see what happened here. Oh, he just lost drive. No, I think the engine died. You see a little bit of smoke there.
Okay, gotcha.
You could hear him like trying to shift up into gear, and the engine just revving and not continuing to go. So yeah,
the
it
brake
sounds
was
like
an
a
after thing.
drive. Yeah, probably the brakes overheating while they're sitting there, because usually they have the air cooler things that they throw on those when the brakes are overheating.
Right. Well, I'm not gonna rush to pat myself on the back next time.
Still, I mean, you had seen that earlier, so it did come back. It just wasn't what caused him to end up out of the race. So
Sure.
But it's hard to tell. We didn't see all of a sudden we just see yellow yellow flag sector 2 and then Stroll tumbling down the standings on the side. So nothing that we could tell initially. But we've got to go through the points, bless you. We've got Perez, Alonso, Russell, Verstappen, Sainz, Hamilton, Leclerc, Tsunoda in 8th, and then Ocon and Gasly rounding out the top 10. 2 points, or I guess 3 points total for the Alpines at the moment. But we do, of course, have the Haas's Williams cars just very close behind, and we're going to have an interesting restart here. It's going to be fun to see if we get a little bit more shifting around now that everyone's on the new tire strategies, or if we'll get kind of a clean getaway. Lando coming in, going on to the mediums. So he was on the mediums at the beginning, I believe, pitted onto the hards, and is now pitted back onto the mediums, I guess, because was he already in last, or was he in 18?
I'm pretty sure he was already like close to last. He might have been last.
Okay, so going on to the mediums, he'll have an opportunity to kind of catch up with everyone, and safety car is ending now, so 30 laps to go. A lot of racing left. But yeah, the McLaren team putting Lando Norris onto the mediums, see if the faster tires can maybe gain a couple positions here.
Yeah, and he caught up to the back of Joe and Valtteri, looks like. Oh, damn. Claire, none too happy.
Yeah.
Oh, but come on. Damn, he's like, I don't want to hear just fucking copy. Bro, that's rough. You got to feel for Leclerc in this position. Yeah, like you said, a lot of racing to go, but like you were saying, they're probably going to be a little bit behind. It seems like maybe the Mercedes, the Red Bulls, and Alonso are going to be able to probably get away from Sainz and Leclerc pretty quick.
It's going to be interesting because now we have Alonso right behind Perez, same tires. We saw how that worked out at the start of the race, but now with Max there right on the tails of Russell, we're getting real bunched up here at the this top as Checo is weaving, getting ready to bolt. Based on and there he goes. Oh wow, he put a good gap. That was a nice restart from Checo.
Russell got a good toe behind Alonso, too.
Yeah. Max coming through with Sainz right on his rear. The two Alpines going right with each other. Tight battles as we get the restart, but clean so far. And the Haas of Kevin Magnussen really just chewing up the back of Gasly's Alpine.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to see both the Haas, both of the Alpines, both of the Williams running together here.
1.6 gap on the first lap after the safety car from Checo. What a great restart from him. That's phenomenal.
Well, yeah. We have is that Max like kind of right on the tail of Russell. I think he's still probably got a lot of work to do, but he's inside that DRS range, he should have a couple opportunities.
0.472 back, so on this long straight here, Max is going to get a lot of pace, and then on the front straight, he'll probably have an opportunity to get past him.
And do they have DRS on right after a safety car restart, or does it do another the like 2 laps?
3 laps? So, but even without DRS, Max in the slipstream has put himself right on Russell's tail. He might still be able to make the move without DRS here. Hamilton trying to make the move on Sainz. Sainz similarly kind of weaving in the straight. So
Yeah, he was ducking back and forth a little bit. I'd like to see a little investigation on that. Hamilton ends up getting by
wow.
anyway.
Lewis gets up past Carlos Sainz. Lewis on the medium tire, pitting onto the
Yep.
mediums there. So that's a big move for him. The other thing I didn't catch, but did Alonso take his penalty? Because if he already took the penalty during that safety car stop and everything, and is in P2 net now, that's huge.
Did Alonso take his penalty already? He did.
That
Sarah
is
says he did.
big for the. I completely forgot about that. That's huge for the Aston Martin team, but a really nice move from Hamilton. Just better grip, better exit out of the turn there on the medium tires.
Well, and there's the first example of it seems like the Ferrari's losing out here on that safety car. Obviously not like a huge advantage, but enough for Hamilton to get by.
Yeah, definitely with that and Lewis having the hard tires on from the beginning, switching from that to the mediums. Obviously, I think he would have wanted a longer stint on the hard tires, but now it's helped him pick up the position there, and now we're seeing Max on the pit straight, just not quite getting enough with the slipstream to get past George Russell, but 0.2 back from him, just right on his heels. As soon as they enable DRS, which should be this lap, George Russell is definitely going to be in a little bit of trouble there from Max.
Yeah, especially him able to keep the gap so close here. Once, like you said, once the DRS turns on, I think it's going to be pretty bad news bears here for George Russell. But we also have very, very good. I like this tire. Very cool for the hard tires for Alonso. We also have Hamilton, kind of in the mix, I would say, as well. Second behind Max still, not that close, obviously, but still, whatever, in the mix, I would say.
Yeah, just outside of that DRS range, and which is now enabled. So if Lewis is able to pick up a little bit, but we're just seeing Max is 0.3 seconds back from Russell now, getting ready to make a move. But yeah, Hamilton with Verstappen getting past Russell there. Making that move stick pretty easily with the DRS, and he is also just out of DRS actually of Fernando Alonso, so slipstream on this should get him inside that range, and then as we're coming through this next lap, Max should be able to close up that gap to Alonso pretty quickly.
Yeah, especially now that the DRS is turned on. Although Alonso's been having a pretty good race, curious what the actual overtake potential is here. But yeah, Max up onto the podium after being down P15. Combination of pretty good driver, pretty good car going on right now, barring another drive shaft failure.
Yeah, that would be pretty rough, but. Fortunately, everything seems to be good with most of the cars. Stroll the only one to be out at this point of the race. 24 laps in, just about to hit the halfway point. Max closing in on Fernando Alonso here, just looking to close that up 12 positions, but it's a pretty mixed up grid at this point. Piastri's down 9 places. Tsunoda up 7 into P9. That's pretty impressive from Yuki, and the kind of drive that I think he needs to really be able to put out there this season. Obviously, with Nick DeVries coming in and Yuki Tsunoda, both of their positions, AlphaTauri has said, are not locked in for the coming years as of yet. They want to see how they do. And Yuki getting into the points. I love seeing Yuki in F1. I think he's a solid driver. He's got a lot of talent. And there goes Max into P2 now, about 6 seconds back from Checo. So still a big gap to get up there. It would be pretty wild to see him go from P15 to win the race. That is I think the largest difference, I saw a graphic earlier this week of furthest distant or most number of places made up to win a race. So I think Lewis has started P15 and 1, Max has started P14, Leclerc has started P14 and 1, but a lot of the other drivers, it was like they had to start P1, 2, or 3 to kind of get up there into that winning position.
Gotcha. So that does seem to be one of those combinations of like both car and driver are really hooked up.
Yeah.
And the hooked up in a way that's like above the rest of that field too. That's a really interesting statistic, honestly.
Yeah, because it does, like you're saying, it speaks to the car and the driver. Because I think Valtteri Bottas's lowest grid position on a win was like P3. So comparing that to Lewis Hamilton, who had gone from like P15 to P1, that's it kind of shows that although both of them could drive the car to a super high level, it shows kind of the difference in terms of performance when not up at the front. We talked about different drivers struggling from driving in the grid in the middle of the grid. We were wondering how Valtteri would do with Alfa Romeo when he first switched over, because he's now going to be in the midfield. And we had seen a lot of struggles from him going up through the midfield when he had to on Mercedes. So it does speak to the drivers themselves a lot, I think, in that aspect.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah, just to close up that point, Valtteri was a very good qualifier, but on the weekends where that didn't happen, you saw him pretty much just stay in the same position that he qualified in, maybe like plus or minus 1 or 2. So not necessarily a progressive system from him. And, just like you were alluding to, we see him kind of down at the back of the pack with the McLarens. Go ahead.
Albon, so just reported a brake failure, so we may see him.
Oh, that's incredibly scary.
Yeah, that's what they're kind of talking about on one of the fastest circuits. So he's still like going.
So he's just gonna.
I think he is trying to
just coast and slow down. Oh, the pits are right there.
Yeah,
but
so I think he's trying to coast it into the. Well,
wait, he's got to keep going. If his brakes don't work, he can't just like.
Wait, why didn't you pit, man? He's just coasting it now. Albon, come on, man. You were right there. I would not, to be honest, I would not be shocked to see a penalty come to the Williams team, because like we've seen the teams get penalties for leaving cars out there that are like dangerous in terms of driving. We're seeing Albon go from P13 down to P19, coasting through. The only thing I can think of is that maybe he thought he was going too fast to be able to be stopped by the pit lane, and so now he's just like coasting it around to bring it back in. I can't imagine he's gonna like keep driving now at this point.
But
that's the only thing I can think of that would have caused that.
Yeah, and that was my guess. Seeing him, he was still moving pretty quickly. So reasonable enough. I'm curious though. No like yellow flag, no anything. They just like, all right.
Yep, they're just like, yeah, coast it in, maybe bring it home.
That's interesting. But I mean, they have more data than we do. It's probably not like the biggest of deals currently.
And the pack was very bunched up. So the lap is about at this point 133 seconds. The grid was probably covered after that safety car in about a 20-second gap. So there's not
Right.
really a danger of like the front runners coming up on Albon before he is able to get back around to the pits, and most likely at least. So,
Right. We're not seeing him in the pit yet, so
no,
hopefully he
he's
makes it there soon.
still making it around, but we did see Checo take the fastest lap, immediately followed by Max taking the fastest lap away from him. We're seeing Lewis on the back of his teammate, and there's the stricken Williams pulling into the pit lane to be wheeled into the garage. So
Nice.
Tough day. That's rough for Albon after we've seen that the Williams has pretty solid pace this weekend. Logan Sargent there riding in P13 ahead of both McLarens, both Alfa Romeos. So not too far out of the points. But yeah, tough end of the day for Alex Albon, who is not having a bad drive by any means.
Yeah, just seems, like you were saying, mechanical failure. So nothing he was really doing wrong. What do we got George Russell talking about here? Oh, George got a penalty?
No, George was saying Alonso's got a 5-second penalty, so we'll be able to make this up at the stop. And they're like, no, Alonso served his penalty already, bud.
Owned.
But
Damn,
I mean,
dude.
but it's like good awareness of him to be like, okay, that information was passed to me, and like not like to be kind of double checking yourself on it, because Russell is just a second, 2 seconds back or so from Alonso. Hamilton on the medium tires was pushing hard, trying to get past his teammate of Russell, but I imagine that Mercedes might do a little team orders, hold position to Lewis at this point, just because you're looking at it and you're going, okay, you got a second behind your teammate, but both of your cars are ahead of the Ferraris. At this point, with Alonso being being above you and having the other Aston Martin out of the place, or out of the points with Stroll being out, I think Mercedes is probably looking to take as just many points as they can on the weekend. I think they're a little too far back from Alonso to make that up.
Fair enough. So you think just turn on the hold fast and just slurp up what points they're like able to get currently?
Yeah,
That
just
seems like a pretty reasonable assessment.
Yeah, I think just holding position. Don't do anything that could cause issues or cause you to lose those points, because right now the biggest battle is with Ferrari to try and stay above them. But yeah, with Stroll being out, that's huge for the other teams to make up some points.
Big time agree. Do you think the Red Bull may be looking to do the same? Do you think they're telling Max, push, go get this guy? Or do you think they're saying, we've got the 1-2, let's hold fast?
I think it will be determined in a bit. I think it's we'll see how the gap closes up over the next little bit. It's hung around that 5-second point for the past few laps, but there's still a pit stop to go, whole nother tire to go. So if Max has the pace, I think they'll just let them race. But if just because no one is that close behind them, I don't think that them duking it out a little bit will close up the gap to Alonso, who's 7 seconds back from the two of them at this point. So if Max can do it on merit, I think they'll let it. But I think it's too early in the season to throw team orders in on behalf of the Red Bulls. So
Well, I don't know. Maybe they see it as, it's a long season. There's no reason to, potentially take both of the cars out if we're like letting them race.
Yeah, I feel like teams are a lot more lenient in terms of doing team orders early on. I think in this instance for Mercedes, like I was saying, it's just a little different because their biggest competition at the moment is Aston Martin and Ferrari. They've got both cars ahead of both Ferraris. One of the Aston Martins is out. So this is I don't think the Mercedes squad is going, we're going to catch the Red Bulls. So we got to.
For sure not.
Yeah, so like they're looking at it in that sense, but I think it's a little too early in the season to say team orders on Red Bull's behalf when they are kind of at the moment head and shoulders above everyone else. So it's tough. It's tough to say, but I think team orders come in later in the season when things are tight, as opposed to early on when you're like, okay, like let's see who does it on merit. See who's just driving better.
Yeah, fair enough. That makes sense. But with the like you were talking about the gap staying around 5 seconds, it doesn't seem like Max is really like pushing forward too hard. But like you said, we still do have a whole nother compound of tire to go through as well. So we can see what happens in the last like 18 laps here, it looks like.
Yeah. And we're settling in a little bit here, but the biggest kind of fight here, Logan Sargent tried to make a move on Nico Hulkenberg a little bit earlier, couldn't get past, but staying in that DRS and pulling along Zhou Guanyu. Alex Albon, sad, heading down the pit lane to probably get into some more relaxed clothing than your racing fire suit. So,
yeah, I'm curious. Like that's actually tangent. That's actually an interesting question because I know for myself, you want to get into, a more relaxing outfit, change the pace of the day. I'm curious if from an athlete's perspective, if they want to do the debrief, like in their game uniform, basically to kind of stay in that mode, or do they go like take the slacks off, put on, like a Williams t-shirt and pants, and then go do the debrief?
It's probably athlete to athlete, and also depends on the situation that you like. So, like in this instance, it's a mechanical failure. It's on the team.
Sure.
Albon's probably just like, shit, this is what it is. It sucks, but like not overall too mad. Like it's not like he's fuming because someone took him out of the race and like binned him into the wall. Like I would imagine,
or needs to give like immediate feedback.
Right. I would say like I would imagine Albon's like reaction between when like Lewis took him out of a race when he was with Red Bull going for the podium compared to just the car dying. So Leclerc, he's
not feeling good.
Not happy being behind. I think we've talked about the cars struggling sometimes in which has been less of an issue with the new regulations, but struggling a bit in the dirty air from the cars ahead. And so it sounds like maybe with the Ferrari difficulty with keeping their tires strong, maybe sliding around in that dirty air a little bit more is just hurting him a bit. And yeah, Max only has made up 0.2 or so in the last couple laps, so I don't know if we'll get a little shootout for the race win here. But so far, Checo driving really well.
Yeah, agreed. The pair of them, though, so Max's delta hasn't changed, but the delta between both of them as like a little running pack has extended like 3 seconds past Alonso since we last checked in. So they're putting work in on that gap, building up, I guess, some not pit stop in hand, but we'll just say like time in hand for their pit stop.
Yeah.
They're really clocking on the seconds here, which is crazy.
Yeah, I would imagine they have to be like at least half a second up on most of the grid per lap at this point. But one interesting point, because we talked about it a little bit on the podcast earlier in the week, but there was conversation that the Ferraris would probably do better here because of their strong straight line speed. I was not expecting both Mercedes cars to be up on them at the moment. And right now it looks like Hamilton's medium tires falling off a smidge as he's dropping back a little bit from George Russell. But yeah, not quite what we, I think, may have expected based on conversations earlier in the week.
Well, I would argue, had the safety car happen a lap earlier, I think we may see the Ferraris have that pace advantage over the Mercedes. I think right now we're seeing, for them specifically, just symptoms of that just brutal, awkward timing of the safety car, where the other teams get that generically better pit stop than they just had, and then have to fight it back. I'd be curious, and maybe not totally flipped, but it may be a little tighter of a contest had they not gotten, I'll just say, stumbled by the safety car.
No, that's definitely fair, because the Ferraris have had better single lap speed, which is why their qualifying has been better typically. But still, they're just not quite able to do it. And Hülkenberg brushing the wall there. We'll see if that causes any issues with Logan Sargent still right on his tail.
Hülkenberg, he was just looking for that's actually the quickest line. If you bounce off that wall, your tires can turn in a little better. So he was actually backboarding to catch some momentum. He was wall riding.
Nico Hülkenberg has the best auto spacing, tire spacing out on the grid.
Yeah, using the tire spacing to his advantage.
Yeah, just orb walking on the edge of that
orb driving on the wall. Dude, did you see the tire spacing on this guy?
Just an inch between the wall and his tires, just so clean.
Is it something about so we all acknowledge that is the right term for the thing that's happening in those very micro moments of League of Legends, right? Yeah. We understand that that's what it should be called, but it's hilarious that it it's such a meme when you have to talk about it, though, because it's is that really what you're going to right now?
So I think the problem is someone who, I don't know where the meme started, but the gist that I've gotten from it is that at some point in time, I think it was Double Lift at Worlds talking about Uzi. Yep, I
think you're right.
Or maybe it was I forget if it was Uzi or Deft or one of those guys, but talking about the auto spacing and everything, and it's you could just say, oh, his positioning in team fights is really good. He's really good at putting himself in a position that he's able to free hit without being in range of the enemy CC. And just say positioning. You don't have to say auto spacing. I understand that in the micro of actually playing the game, you are clicking a lot to move your champion around and stay in that area. But to the viewer, they're not seeing the click, 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 click. They're just seeing the character kind of stay in a good position. And so you should just call it positioning, unless you're maybe coaching someone who's trying to get better. That's maybe where you use that as opposed to a general broadcast terminology.
Yeah, it's so not a layman term that it's you sound ridiculous using it.
And so now it's you it's almost when people are trying to talk about fancy things where they're just oh, just the the brogues on the shoes were just so nice. Those wing tips on them, and you could just be like, "Oh
There
yeah, I
you
really
go.
like the guy's shoes. They had a nice like design." Like you
Okay.
you don't have to like go that hard into the detail.
But it's interesting, like if you actually do shine that lens on the like idea of it, it's actually incredibly fascinating where a player is like using that distance advantage to keep opponent locked out of attacking them, but them still like that's a very fascinating thing. And when you see it played out, it's like, oh yeah, man, this is high level. But yeah, the word and the choice of when to talk about it is definitely important. But now that we've taken our viewers totally out of this race, we do apologize. Had to get that out. But hey, looking at the timetable, we see the Red Bulls still haven't pitted. Alonso is even further back, so I think we're fine.
Yeah, no, not much has changed. We saw both Red Bulls kind of cut the chicane a little bit.
Max is having issues.
So he's saying it's making a lot of noise when he's at high speed. They're monitoring things. Yeah. So telling him to keep going for the moment. So that's a little concerning in terms of making it to the end of this race. I mean, we saw him go out in qualifying because of some engine issues. He was up about half a second closer to Checo a lap or so ago. So that is definitely a concern. Checo, though, just to speak on him again, like driving a really, really good race. Wow. And Max just made up that half second in no time. But yeah, Checo having a really solid, clean race, looking just on top of the world, cruising at the front at the moment. We'll still see another pit stop probably in the next 10 laps might be a little, probably the next 7-8 laps for most of the teams. So that could shake things up a little bit.
Wait, is my math wrong? That's like the end of the race. And then they're only doing a 3-lap stint?
Oh, yeah, sorry, my brain. No, you're right. I was thinking 60 laps. Yeah, so maybe pitting again pretty soon, or maybe just going. And
that's looking at this issue with Max and the Red Bull, it's fascinating the level of trust where instinctually as a driver, you must feel like, oh, this is dangerous. I should stop. There's something wrong here.
Yeah, but something sounds weird. You're I don't know what this is.
But having that trust where if they're saying hey, we're happy on this end, and it's just a noise to him, that's a fascinating level of trust between the pit wall and the driver, and then both of those parties then in the vehicle that they're having him ride. That's a fascinating thing, having a bit of long brake pedal for Checo here. So both of the Red Bulls in, I would argue, maybe not exactly critical condition, but it seems like things may be.
Yuki with the move. Staying ahead. Just staying ahead. Magnussen trying to make the move, and Yuki just hanging in there. Beautiful. Love it.
Damn, to speak on the Haas a little bit, I mean, running 11-12, very close to each other throughout the whole race. Hulkenberg only, yeah, exactly. I think this is an encouraging effort from the Haas team all around. Just to speak on them a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talked about Nico a little bit, but Kevin Magnussen won being 4 seconds up on his teammate. I think that's kind of what we are maybe going to see, at least for the front half of the season, in terms of the long run pace. Nico might out-qualify Kevin, but Kevin has just more time recently in that car to have that long run pace, more comfortability. But nonetheless, hanging close together there. just outside the points. I think as teams start to bring upgrades, it's just going to be interesting because right now there does seem to be a pretty solid, consistency. We've got both Red Bulls at the top. We would have had both Aston Martins towards the top, both Mercedes together, both Ferraris together, both Alpines together there. And so we're seeing some pretty competitive fights now for that last points position, but the top half of the grid seems to have shaken out pretty decently. So I think it might be a track to track thing a little bit where we see a little bit of shifts in that performance or who's in the points.
Yeah, coming up next, thinking about like track to track advantage, coming up next is Australia, I believe, at Albert Park, which is like not crazy in one direction or the other. It seems like a more like all around like middle of the road type track where cornering speed is not exactly being tested, and straight line speed is not exactly being tested. So we'll see which cars take the advantage there. Where on a track like this, we're talking a lot about the cars that have developed some pretty solid straight line speed, right?
Yeah, I would say Albert Park. It has a couple of good DRS zones, but that is not the key to that circuit for sure. Like you were saying, I think you're right on there. So I think there may be some more shakeups. We're seeing this big battle here for 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th with
get in there, DeVries. Good move.
Did they touch?
Maybe it would have been a wall ride in my opinion. Not a racing incident. Another wall ride from a professional driver.
No, looked like the AlphaTauri might have bumped Logan Sargent there, but yeah, Sargent driving pretty well, but a nice move by DeVries to get on past him.
We're listening to this radio message with Sergio Perez. I think both a bit confused.
Well, so Max has been gaining on him a bit, down to 4.4 seconds back. Probably not going to make that up in the last 8 laps of the race, but they were telling Checo a target time to hit, and he was asked if Max is doing the same target times. And they said that Max was doing a couple tenths faster than whatever they had told Checo. And he's like, why are you telling me to go slower than him? Than what he's doing? Why are you trying to let this gap close up kind of thing?
Right.
Which I think is fair. Like, it's 4.5 seconds. There's no reason. Oh, big floor brush for Lando Norris there coming off the curbs, but
and we saw that a lot. That I believe it was that curb exactly too. A lot of like a big undercarriage contact.
Yeah. And Logan Sargent just doing a nice defensive job there with both McLarens right on his tail with DRS. He's just out of that DRS to Nick DeVries at this point, but
see, I'm with Checo. That's what I'm saying. We don't really need to push.
Yeah, okay, so they're saying he's free to push. He's like,
right.
Checo wants his win. I don't blame him. I do not blame him at all.
Yeah, I'm of two minds on that one, where it's like, I think you should have just let Sergio just drive. It didn't seem like Max was gating on him. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what the goal would be in that position.
Max closed up a tiny bit, but not in a like, oh, he's gonna pass you before the end of the race kind of way. So just let him drive. Like,
right.
Let him push. Like, make sure that he's not pushing too hard and killing the tires or anything. But, like, just, let him drive. Why not?
Well, here's what I'll say. What's interesting about, so lap 44 out of 50, we were talking earlier in the race about tire strategy. What are they going to go on? It seems like what people pivoted to was just going onto the hards and just doing a one stop, riding that to the end, which is kind of interesting. Didn't seem like me and you were here predicting what would have been a two stop race primarily, but we're seeing a lot of these teams able to, they went to the hard tire, they're dragging that out. We even see Zhou Guanyu looking to finish the race on mediums, it seems like.
Yeah, and so I guess he would have pitted twice. I think some teams did pit twice, but the one stop was the kind of standard strategy here.
Medium start to the hards, which is fine.
So
and it seemed like that was even up in the air for a little bit, but it seemed to just fall on. That seemed good enough to get us to the end of the race. Maybe teams saw what positions they were looking to slurp up and just said like, I think that pace is going to be fine.
Yeah, definitely. And so this is just a fun, interesting point, but
Hit me.
With Max's issue. Checo, Max, Alonso, same podium as last week. Checo gets the fastest lap, though, so Checo will be leading the Drivers' Championship by 1 point. So I like that. I mean, I want to see at least, if there's not going to be a battle for first in Constructors, I want to see a battle for first in the Drivers' Championship. So I love to see it. I'm pumped to see Checo driving so solidly. Like, he's put himself out front and just driving a really nice race. And really, other than the Albon and Stroll issues, we've had a really clean race kind of throughout, which I'm definitely happy to see. We saw I know you watched the sprint race for F2, as I don't know if you watched the feature race today, but the sprint race was pretty decent. Of course, Theo Porcher went slamming into one of the other cars about halfway through.
Those onboards are hilarious, and especially the way Alex Brundle called it, where he was like, all right, here we are on board with like the ART or whatever, and then he's like, and out of stage left, Theo Porcher just like, dear, boom, just like takes the other guy out.
It literally nowhere.
It literally looked like just like a racing game, somebody just boiling it into a corner. It was so fucking funny.
Oh my god, from the top rope, it's Theo Porcher.
Yes. Exactly, dude. I was like, what are you doing? But what was so...
With the chair.
Yeah. Dude, oh man. But in the same moment, like they were both relatively okay. I think, which allows us to laugh about this here.
Oh, those cars look too similar with the red on the tail of the AlphaTauri. I thought it was the two Haas's duking it out, but that is Kevin Magnussen getting past Yuki Tsunoda to snatch that last point away at the moment.
Oh, Tsunoda not happy about that. He says, give me that shit back, please.
So he said, no!
Damn, dude. I like that energy, man. Kid's got spunk.
He does. And he's driving well. I mean, P10, P11, like that's a nice drive in that AlphaTauri car. But I know how bad he wants that point. So definitely a bummer, but nice from Kevin Magnussen to sweep himself in there, late on the brakes and take that point. Up at the front though, 3-4 laps to go. Checo Perez 6 seconds up on Max. Alonso 17 seconds back. I don't imagine anyone's going to go for that fastest lap point, but just
yeah, I don't think so. It seems like here in the early stages of the season, any quality points that you can get are gonna be more important than just that one fastest lap point. Diving into the pits for your soft tires, you're probably gonna lose a couple positions, especially like in the points gaining positions. It looks like they're all kind of within.
Too tight.
Yeah, it's just way too tight. Like you would get sent back to like Ocon, right? Or like maybe Leclerc Sainz ish, and that's just like not worth it if you're at the top. And then anywhere further back, yeah, I think you just lock in the regular season points that you get, and whatever a fastest point is, what it is.
Yeah, well, and so the conversation at the moment on the broadcast is that Max has been dropping back a little bit from Checo, but it seems like he may be charging up his energy reserves and all to try and make a run for that fastest lap here right at the end of the race. So maybe Max will try and snatch that away on these last laps, but that's probably the only shot that we have for things to shift. Again, seeing Logan Sargent with the two McLarens behind defending super, super well over the last few laps. They've both been in DRS, and he's just able to keep it ahead. I'm happy to see the McLarens battling a bit. Interested to hear what happened with Valtteri Bottas this week, though. He's at the back, P18. He had to pit again. He's 33 seconds back. Not really sure what was going on with his car today, because his teammate Zhou Guanyu is up there in P13, not too far off the Haas car's pace.
Yeah, and as far as like the tempo of the race, that seems like a mechanical issue of some kind preventing performance. And then them just like wanting to stay out for some reason. Like they have them on the soft tires as well. Like you said, diving into the pits yet again. So yeah, curious what happened there. We'll have to look for the driver interviews post race for some more information.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to figure out what's going on there. But yeah, Valtteri at the back. We've got 2 laps to go at the moment. Checo, Sergio Perez in P1, Max Verstappen P2, Fernando Alonso P3, Russell, Hamilton P4 and 5, Sainz and Leclerc in 6th and 7th, 8th and 9th to the Alpines of Ocon and Gasly, 9th and 10th to Kevin Magnussen, rounding out the points. So a nice point pickup for the Haas team there. Fernando Alonso, they're saying push a little bit to make sure you've got 5 seconds between you and Russell, but they're like, we're pretty sure we're good. So.
Oh, if they're like, we didn't serve it properly?
Maybe maybe a just in case. And they're right at that 5 second point with Russell behind. So Alonso hoping to close up maybe a 10th or so. And we may see, as Sergio starts the last lap here of the race, we may see Max try and just send it on this last one to go for that fastest lap.
Snap his drive shaft, looking for that final point.
We'll see, but a beautiful victory from Checo. Really nice drive out here. Russell being told to push like a madman. He is 4.94 seconds back from Alonso. Alonso got it to 5 seconds back. So,
as though he didn't serve the penalty, though. That's like a weird thing to worry about.
Yeah, I'm wondering what that is. If it's like, but Max may get the fastest lap here. He is closed up a full second on Checo in that first sector. This is definitely on pace for fastest lap from Max to hang on to that championship point lead.
Same thing's just going to happen that happened in Jeddah.
No.
Turn 27. You just got to put it into that wall.
Don't
going
say
too
that.
hard.
No, don't say it. Wow. Really, yeah. Nice drive from Sergio, coming through.
But somehow the race was still about Max going from 15 to second.
I mean, Checo had a great drive, but Max, I think
Agreed.
we expected to move up.
Nick's the
Max,
fastest lap.
Yep.
Good on him, dude.
Hey,
good on him. That's fun.
If they're not gonna be battling wheel to wheel, like I like the wow, and that fastest lap was by a few tenths, I believe, probably 2-3 tenths. Alonso.
Wow, you charge up your battery, hit the boost button,
but
the overtake button.
Alonso with a nice third place on the podium again. 100.
Dude.
What is that? 100th podium?
I believe so. Yeah. I think it was career 99 before the race.
Cheers to Fernando.
That's very exciting. Yeah.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. So
well, go ahead. You were going to say the same thing I was.
Oh, I was gonna say. So the only battle really left is this Logan Sargent, Lando Norris. Lando trying to chase him down. Not much to go to wrap out the end of this race though.
Oh man, damn!
Is Lando
Norris really put in the effort though.
Yeah, which I'm happy, even though McLaren still obviously has a lot of struggles, but I'm happy to see that they are not just out of the race and pitting every 4 laps this time. So small improvements, small steps, baby steps. So congrats to Sergio Perez on the win for that race. Max Verstappen P2 getting the fastest lap, holding on to that, and Fernando Alonso wrapping out the podium. 2 weeks in a row with the or 2 races in a row with those 3 on the podium.
And depending on how the rest of the season shakes out, we may get pretty used to seeing that lineup there at the top. But yeah, this was pretty fun and interesting Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. I thought the tire strategy was pretty interesting. How it seemed like it was changing throughout the course of the race. Yeah, kudos to Red Bull. Great drive from Max. Coming up from back of the field. But yeah, I think that was a pretty good Saudi Arabian Grand Prix.
Yeah, I would have to agree. So thanks, everyone, for joining us for this race companion for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Looking forward to putting more of these out throughout the season. But you can check this out on YouTube. Hit us up on Twitter if you have any comments, questions, concerns about the race. But looking forward to the podcast this week.
Yeah, so I'll just say thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for spending your time. This was a tall and short of it race companion. Peace out, everyone.
See ya.